Hi folks, thanks for stopping by. Thought I'd do another video on how I feed my worms. I'm going to start off this video with a wet feeding or raw materials, not a worm chow, but my vegetables, fruits, um, that type of thing. I'm going to show how I prepare it and why I prepare it the way that I do. Talk a little bit about the nutritional value of the different foods that go in, and I'm going to show you a little secret sauce that I add to my food that I find the worms really love. Stick around, I'll show you how to do it. You can do it too. Feed your worms, get them nice, fat, and healthy, and make great castings. Let's go up to the worm shop and I'll show you what we're doing. So let's go ahead and make some worm food. This is what I start with. These are lettuce leftovers from a local restaurant. I get about 2 5-gallon buckets of these a week. This is comfrey from my garden, and I'll show you how I chop that up and put it all together. And then what I add to each bag is shredded cardboard. Now these are micro shred, and what that's going to serve to do is to soak up the moisture and to add carbon to the food. And when they're chopped up, it all goes in this bucket. So now that we've got our food all cut up, I'm going to go ahead and place it in freezer grade plastic bags. And the reason why we're going to place them in freezer grade plastic bags is because we're going to freeze it. All right, now, could I give this to the worms directly just like this? Certainly could. But when I freeze this, it's going to basically break all the cells in the plant material. And when I thaw it, all of that excess moisture is going to drain out. And that way I'm not adding a lot of extra moisture to the worm bin. The other good thing, remember we put the shredded cardboard in here, is that cardboard is going to soak up a lot of that moisture to add a little bit of moisture to the bin. but it won't be adding so much that we've got a big sloppy mess in there. So what I do is I'm going to fill up all of my bags with all the stuff I've got in this container, in this 5-gallon bucket here. And we're going to go ahead and pop it into the freezer. And I go ahead and seal it up as best I can and get as much air out as I can to save room in the freezer. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill the rest of them up. But for the purpose of this video, what I want to show you, that's what it's looking like now in its raw form. This one I just pulled out of the freezer. You see it's starting to fog up, but it's going to be like this. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to put it into a bucket with a strainer. I'll bring one in. I'll show you that because I've got some thawing right now. And I'll show you the difference between this, and the raw product. So here is the thawed vegetable scraps and cardboard. I put it in a colander, or as I like to call it, a spaghetti strainer. No, this is not my wife's spaghetti strainer. This is mine. Well, it's the worms, actually. And then, because I'm going to mix this all up with another ingredient, we're going to put it in this large pan. Now, this was probably 3 bags. So, wait, the difference between the original, that's 1 bag. This is 3 bags. Notice how much smaller it's gotten when all that moisture left the being. So I'm not going to be adding all of that moisture to the worm bin. Now let me go get my secret ingredient. It's really not a secret. It's basically dry sifted cow manure. And we're going to add it to this. And I know you're probably asking right now, why are you going to add manure to a nitrogenous, heavily nitrogen material? Won't that cause heating in the bin? Nope, not really. And I'll show you why. Now this cow manure has been harvested, and then it's gone through a process where they squeeze out all of the liquids and the stuff, and then it's dried, and then it's put through one thermophilic stage, composting stage, where it's been heated up to a very high temperature. So basically it's compost. There's no smell. Well, actually it smells like earth, but that's why it's not going to heat up all of this leafy green material. Now, may it heat up a little bit? Maybe, but not enough to even affect the worms. Not enough to where it's going to turn my worm bins into a compost bin. But what we're going to do, we're just going to mix that up. Now, that dry manure is also going to help to soak up a lot of the moisture. But the main thing, the main reason why I put the cow manure in, number one, the worms love it. I mean, they are composting worms, they are manure worms, and they love it. And they're going to take to this like crazy because the bacteria level just exploded when I added the manure to the mixture here. I've got another couple of bags I'm going to mix in there too. So in my green leafy material, I know we talked about it when we were cutting it up. Basically anything that was alive can go in here. You know, I'm talking plant material, not talking animal material, but plant material. And what that's doing for the worms is to give them a very, very nutritious diet. Now I have a farm, and there's always that zucchini that goes bad. Actually, you might even have a bad zucchini in your refrigerator right now, seeing as how it's this time of year. But anything, peppers, lettuce, naturally. Anything that comes from that garden, I chop it up and I put it in here. And it does. It adds variety to the food. So now that we've all got this all mixed up, let's go ahead and feed some worms. All right, let's go ahead and feed some worms here. These guys have not been fed for, well, with a wet feeding anyway, vegetable feeding, for about a week and a half. I have given them some of my worm chow, and I'm doing that because I'm getting ready to harvest these castings. They're getting ready, and I've got a video coming up about why I'm going to harvest my worm castings now. It's the beginning of September. Growing season is pretty much done. Why would I want to harvest the worm castings? Well, stick around, subscribe to the channel, and you're going to find out why. And I'm going to show you how I harvest the worm castings, how I store the worm castings, and you might be a bit surprised when you see how I do it. It's a pretty interesting way, and it works really well. Now, I'm going to take this and bring it right down to the bottom. We've got about a good 3 inches of bedding here of castings. And we're going to fill that up. Just a little trench. Now, because the cardboard's in here, I really don't have to put anything down at the bottom. There's not going to be a lot of moisture coming out. This is thawed already. This is room temperature. I know a lot of folks will add frozen food directly to the bin. And I suppose, if you're out west and your bin's real hot and all that, I just can't, I don't know. I don't think the worms really would like to have a big frozen block of food in their bin. Obviously, it doesn't hurt them any, but this way, being at room temperature, the bacteria in the bin is going to go directly to work on these guys to make it available for the worms to eat. Makes it nice and easy. I cover it right back up so I don't have to worry about fruit flies and that kind of thing. And it's as easy as that. I take my paper, roll it back out, cover it up, my plastic cloth, cover it back up, and put it back on the rack. And we will go ahead and grab another one here. Well, this one's kind of an interesting one. We got some worms crawling. Oh, they're hungry. They are hungry. They're starting to crawl up the sides. I'm feeding them just in time. A lot of folks wonder, why are my worms crawling out? Well, it could be for a couple of different reasons, but one of the reasons that I found, if they're hungry, they're going to look for food. It's kind of like when you're out on the road and you're hungry, well, you're looking for that restaurant. They're doing the same thing. And again, we're just going to fill up that little trench there. Now, you might have noticed I didn't add any grit. And the reason for that is when I do a dry feeding with my worm chow, I add a lot of grit then. And because I use like the manure, composted manure, and I use a composted manure for my original bedding, I think there's a lot of sand and dirt that's already in the soil. So I don't think I have to add a whole lot. Now, on the same line, when I do once a month, when I turn the bins, when I aerate, I do add azomite, I do add grit, I do add a lime to the soil to Keep the pH relatively balanced. The lime that I use is real lime, actual lime. It's not the processed stuff that you'd put on your lawn. That'll kill your worms. Be careful with that. Be careful when you're adding lime. I like to add my shells. A lot of times I'll find the worms, especially if I leave it like that. You find the worms right underneath there. I don't know if they really get anything from the shell, but they look pretty anyway. Okay, so that is how I mix up my wet food for the worms, and that's how I feed them. Next video is going to be one on how I do the dry feeding, how I mix up my worm chow, the reasons why I use the ingredients that I do, and I'll be showing that to you. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to y'all later.